welcome back to another early adopter edition. And in this one, we're going to talk about tag values again, but this one's going to be about making it very easy to implement, use, and manage tag values. In a previous episode titled My First Stereotype, we talked about stereotypes, what stereotypes were, when to use stereotypes. In this episode, we're going to focus solely on tag values, when to use stereotypes, and when to use tag values. Also, when to use constraints, maybe touch on it if we have time. I'll do a separate video on constraints. So in this, when we're thinking about tag values or stereotypes or constraints, we're basically asking these questions. So with stereotypes is, what kind of thing is this, or object? And in this case, it is a microservice. With tag values, what additional information do I need for this thing, this object, as we're going forward? And then constraints is basically what rules I must know, we must know. So let's get started. So remember that the purpose of a tag value is to attach key value metadata to an element. So you see several tags that are in here, and the effects is that it acts like a custom property field. These are properties to the left of the equal sign that can be used in reports, filters, and scripts. So in summary is around the use of tag values. Define types of roles? No, we don't use tag values, we use stereotypes. Add extra metadata? Yes, we use tag values. And indirectly, you may be using stereotypes. Express business rules and validation? No on tag values. And no also on stereotypes. We use constraints for that. Custom appearance and tool behavior? No, we don't use tag values. Yes, we use stereotypes. You can sometimes use tag values to generate an appearance, a script, a shape, if you will, rather. But in general, we're mainly using this to add additional information or metadata to an element within our modeling work area. All right, let's demonstrate next in this blank project. I created one package called My Solution, one diagram, also with the same name, and one class element in here. We're in the default Sparx factory layout, browser on the left. I brought out toolbox to the right of browser. We have properties in the upper right, and I have notes in the lower right. If I select the element, we can see all of the properties associated with this class element. If I go to tags, there are no tags that are in here. In previous episodes, when I was talking about tags, I would take you to the settings tab in Sparx. We would go over to UML types. We would go down to tag value types, and there are no tags that have been defined in here yet, but this is where I would tell you to create your tags that are here, and then apply them within your modeling. But you don't need to do all of that. If you select an element and you go to properties in tags, you can get to the same dialog box by simply selecting this tool within the tag tab in the properties window. You can also open up properties by double-clicking the element, and you have the properties that are showing up here, where you can change things like, for instance, the language, the complexity. Let's just make this moderate, and let's change the language to C#. Let's change it to Python, just like that. Then you can also change the stereotype. So we'll select this, and we will go to all. I'm just going to go all the way up in perspectives. Just change it to none. That way I can get to a stereotype that I created for a microservice that applies to class. And then we'll select OK. And there, this is now stereotyped as a microservice. There is no shape script for this element at this time. So now we have a thing here. It is KMS microservice. So it's KMS, it's a class element in here. And what kind of thing is this? It is a microservice, but I want additional information in this microservice. Let me grab properties and drag it out here next to this. And so we can see here is the name of it is KMS, the stereotype is microservice. And then you have other properties that you can take advantage of here. Let's go over to tags. When we go to tags, we have a ribbon across this window. And in here, I can select this element right here, which brings up the UML types focused on tag values. So I can define or start defining a tag value here. And in this case, I'm just calling it endpoint URI. And then I would describe it as a REST-based URI of or for a microservice, something like that. I'm not going to put any other details in here at this time. I'm just going to hit save. So now I have a tag value called endpoint URI, and I described the users that are in the tool that might go up here and go, what tag values are defined? They could go in here. Oh, I see this. And then I've shown you how to describe the values. So values equal, and then you describe the values separated by a comma, ending with a semicolon. And then down below, these are endpoint tag values, endpoint tag values. You probably are going to describe this a lot clearer than that, but just for this demonstration, that's all we're going to do. Now let's add our tag value to our element here. So we're going to select this, select the tag value that we want, and we can copy and paste this, or we can just type it in. So we're going to hit this, add new, opens up the tag value dialog box. We are going to, you have all these to select from. We can certainly try to find ours. We're just going to put this in just like that. And then we're going to put in what the URI is. And in this case, just keep it simple. You can put in HTTPS if you want to, arco.com.kms. And that's going to be it. And there we go. So we've added it to the element, the thing, but we want to expose it in our diagram. So how do we do that? There's actually two ways to do it. The first way is you can do it for every element that's in the diagram by going to the diagram properties, going to element, and in element, we can click on tags, and there we go. We see our endpoint URI showing. We double click this again, go to elements and turn off tags. Hit OK, and now we don't see it. The other way to do it is to right click on the element, go to compartment visibility, or hit the shortcuts Control Shift and Y. And we hit this dialog box that pops up where we can show the element compartments that we want to see. We're going to select tags, hit OK, and there we go. We're doing all of this from this properties window. You can do things like if you mouse over, show in compartments, you can show properties subdivided into compartments. This is for more complicated tag value scenarios. For example, if we were looking at this particular requirement, these are all these compartments, and the tag value stability is applicable from these different viewpoints. Or you can sort by alphabetical order, takes it out of compartment, and it gives you the ability to change the value applied to more complicated scenarios and manage them that direction. Let's go back to our simple view right here. So you can sort, if you had lots of tag values, alphabetical order. You can certainly add more tag values as you're going forward. You can show duplicate tag values. In some cases, you're kind of constrained from putting in duplicates, but if you turn this on, you're allowed to add duplicates or see duplicates. You might have multiple endpoint URIs for a single element, And in that case, you could take advantage of those scenarios. You can also add notes in here explaining the tag values. And in some case, we may create something called a progress bar. I've shown you this. So you might have a tag value called progress like that. And in the value, you can put a number. We're just going to put in here 50, 0 to 100. And in notes, you can put in type equals progress bar. I've shown you in this channel, which changes the style, the graph, the image to look like a progress bar. You can do things like that. So you can delete the tag value if you didn't want it, or you had duplicates and you didn't mean to have duplicates, you can delete them. You can go back to the window again and manage your tag values. And if information is put in there about what the tag value is, you're able to read that to determine whether you want to add it. And what else here? Show duplicates I've already talked about. And you always have help. So you select that. It's going to bring up your browser about tag values. So a lot can be done from this property window for tags, as well as so many other things. The properties in general, we've talked about in the channel, but our focus is solely on tag values. All right, we're going to wrap up now. I hope this episode was helpful for you. A few of you have been asking questions about tag values. You've been having some trouble implementing them. They're actually very simple as long as you know what tag values are, when to use them, and how to manage them. And I've shown you today tags made easy just from one window, the properties window that you see here. So we're going to be talking a lot more about tag values. We're going through a more advanced session around model-driven generation technologies where you're building your own elements. And tags are seen a little bit differently in your own MDG elements. And if you want to advance and view those, stay tuned. Like and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and let's keep up together. So until that next episode, happy modeling.